Alright guys, bit of different video for me today. I don't normally get in the videos, as you know if you've watched any. I tend to talk about my stuff and show bits and pieces. This one's going to be a little bit different today because I'm going to talk about Bruce and like how it's been for me since I've been a fan and everything else. So it's quite a bit, but I can't go over the time, as we know. So I'm just going to start off like with the early 70s for me. I mean, I've been a fan since probably say 74, so probably a year after Bruce died. Um, that's when I started noticing like pictures and posters and stuff of him. I always remember some iconic posters, and I used to think, Jesus, who's that guy? You know, and my brother had a poster up on his wall as well, and that was it. I started like thinking about it and that, as you do, and then I started buying a couple of magazines and a couple of posters, and I guess that's what started it off for me. You know, I started buying some of the big rolled up posters you used to get, and started seeing his face on magazines. It's cool, really, because you know back then, you go in a magazine store, but it's just the same as you do nowadays, and there's Bruce on the cover. You know, how great was that? You'd be looking up and down the magazine racks, and you know the sort of stuff, they used to have in there, and there's Bruce on the cover of magazines. Great. And I guess ever since then, I was hooked, as you do, and as people have been. And you know that's what started it all for me. Only obviously I was young, you know, in '74. You know, I was only 7, so I couldn't go to the cinema and watch his movies, which I didn't like. Obviously, I hated the thought of I couldn't get into a cinema. But you know, that's 1974, and his movies, as you know, were Certificate X, which is 18 and over. So, what chance did a 7-year-old little boy have of getting in the door? Absolutely none whatsoever. As I can tell you now, cinemas back then were quite strict. You had no chance of getting in. So I couldn't see it, and that was very annoying for me. So I had to just look at pictures, look at magazines. That's all I had. And you know, and that's how I started off. And uh, I mean, obviously, when Bruce arrived on the scene, there was a bit of a kung fu boom, as you would say, in the UK, and everything was kung fu. You know, even programs was talking about kung fu and stuff. You'd see it everywhere. You know, people was trying to. You know, everybody just suddenly wanted to be a kung fu master, so to speak. Everybody was trying to learn kung fu. You see Bruce at the cinema, other kung fu films at the cinema, and suddenly it's like kung fu epidemic. Everything is like kung fu. So it was a great era and a great time of my life, um, being introduced into all this. Obviously, you know, the 70s, early 70s was a bit naff. I mean, let's be honest with you, the music in the early 70s was pants, really, wasn't it? Let's be honest. There was nothing out there. So it was a bit stale. And suddenly you had this kung fu boom what took over, and you know, and it never really changed. And you know, it's weird, you know, I can always remember obviously seeing pictures of Bruce with his nunchucks, and I wanted the nunchucks, but obviously back then you sure as hell couldn't buy them. So what did we all do? We went to the local hardware store, bought a broom handle, cut it up, got some chain, cut the chain out, the little U nail clips, bang them in the top, making up the nunchucks. There you are, homemade nunchucks, paint them black, same ones as Bruce. That's what we used to do, and I know a lot of people that done that. I used to know a lot of guys who was into it when I was, and everybody was walking around with the nunchucks. It was a great time. Um, I suppose after then, you had like the Kung Fu monthlies later on started coming out, which was great. You could see Bruce every month. There was a different Kung Fu monthly, different poster of Bruce. Always remember going to the store where I used to get them. There's a few different ones at first until I settled on the same one. Couldn't wait to go and get it just to open it out and see what the poster was. I'm thinking, oh, another. I wonder what movie it's going to be. I mean, a lot of them were Enter the Dragon back then, but they did change later on. And but that was a great time getting those KFMs and collecting them, sticking them on the wall. We all stuck them on the wall. I wrecked a couple, sticking them up. I mean, I don't think I even had blue tack back then. I don't even think it was invented. So I think back then it was mainly putting it up with drawing pins or pins. That's what I used to put posters up when I was a kid. So, you always had the little dots in the corner where you could see where the poster had been up. So that was a great time getting the Kung Fu monthlies. But obviously back then there was no internet. You just couldn't go online and think, oh, I'll go and buy this and go and buy that. There was diddly squat. So, apart from what I was seeing in magazine shops, that was it for me. Unless they released something on him or there was a new poster up in one of their record shops, I wasn't getting it because it wasn't there for us in the UK. What the shops had, that was it. Nothing else. And obviously back then we didn't have some of the stuff on telly maybe like the US did. I mean, the US used to get like Green Hornet and stuff like that maybe. We didn't get any of that. That was all like later before we even had the chance to watch stuff like that. For me, I seen a couple of episodes of Batman and that was it. So that's what I remember, like 70s wise. And then obviously, I can remember Super 8's coming out. And then that's when my first glimpse of Bruce, buying the Super 8 movies on a projector in my old bedroom, watching Bruce Lee for the first time on the Super 8. Fucking great, That was my first time I'd seen Bruce, and I was so excited, waiting for them to come to finally get to see Bruce doing his stuff. And obviously, that's what I did. In like moving on from there, obviously things changed in the early 80s because you had the VHS boom, and that was it. I could finally see Bruce for the first time, watch his movies, all the movies instead of clips or like what they had on the Super 8s. So that was next. So I finally got to see him on probably the whole, like I said, the whole movie on VHS, even though some were cut worse luck. But that's what you get for living in the UK with our censors. So that's something you've got to put up with. And I visited. I can always remember going up to going to London and that, and going to Manchester, going to martial arts shops back when I was young, picking up stuff. Great, picking up bits and pieces from those type of stores as well. Great. What was I going to say? I got so much in my head. It's trying to remember it all. You try to go over what you're going to say, and it's really hard. And but you do. And I kept buying this and getting that. Got the movies, and obviously then you might started finding other bits and pieces and like little figures and whatever, little plasticky things and that. Started getting bits and pieces, and you don't tend to look back then, and then obviously, you had the internet, and that was it. Once the internet came out, you could start getting. I didn't go on the internet straight away. I didn't go on there until 2011. So I had to get other people to order me stuff and buy stuff for me because I just didn't seem to have much interest in going on the internet. And you know, I met some good guys on there on the internet, on YouTube. People started showing bits and pieces on there, and people had their collections on there. So you know, you started seeing other guys' stuff, and it was like wow, you know. And I met my mate Peter Reynolds up there, who's in Scotland. He's one of the first guys I met on there to like message and talk to about Bruce. And then after that, it was just there were so many people on there, and I became good friends with so many different collectors all over the world. You know, people in New York, people in Hong Kong, you know, Australia, in Europe. There's collectors everywhere, and you know, you get some good friends. You know, I've made some good friends over the years with all these guys in that, and you know, it's surprising how many people like Bruce. You know, Bruce is never going to go away. It's different generations grow up and they like him, and it just goes on and on and on. And hopefully it will carry on being like that. I know it's certainly going to for me, and certainly going to for all my other Bruce friends out there. Like I said, you know, there's so many. You know, Hector in New York, Charles Damiano, people like that who's always showing their collections. You've got Jeff Chin in San Francisco. You know, so many different collectors out there. You know, with great stuff. You know, I visited Jeff in his home in San Francisco and went to his Bruce room. And you know, fantastic. You know, it just lets you see, and then you realise what you've got, and you see what other people have got, and it's like never ending. You know, there's so much stuff to buy. You know, I only wish I had some of the stuff what some guys got, but you just get what you get at the end of the day. And you know, Bruce has had a massive, massive impact on my life. You know, I can't imagine life without Bruce being in it. I'll be honest with you, from like I said, from a young age, and I'm still going now. You know, and where we're at now, 2019. You know, and I was a fan of Bruce. In 1974, I'm still going now. You know, I got my Bruce room and everything else. Things is not going to change for me. You know, I did a bit of GKD and that for a few years, back in the early 2000s, and you know, I studied this and studied that, did a bit of this, did a bit of that, and you know, it's all down to Bruce, I would imagine, for me, and you know, been to the States and stuff, visited his statue and stuff, his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's great to go there and see his statue in Chinatown and stand there and look at it and things like that. And you know, I went to his grave in Seattle. You know, that's a weird, strange feeling when you stood by Bruce's grave. You know, it's nothing like nothing else. Being there and being stood by Bruce's grave, you know, it's a really, really strange feeling. As you can see, there's a picture behind of me there at Bruce's grave, look, and there's a picture there of me at his statue as well. But you know, if you ever get a chance to go there, you know, go there. But I don't think you know, it's ever going to change for me in that department. I should just keep buying bits and pieces, putting it in the collection. I will see my room's quite full, but you know, I always move things around if I have to for better stuff, and put stuff away if I have to, which I don't like to do. Everybody wants to show everything, but you know, sometimes you can't. You know, I think most collectors out there will tell you it's a collector's nightmare, because when you collect stuff on Bruce, there's so much to get, and you want it all on show. But unfortunately, it's not always that way. But this is just a short video of me saying the impact that Bruce have had on my life, and he will have until I'm not here anymore, because it's never going to change for me. And that's all I want to say, really. I don't want to go into it for ages. I don't have the time anyway, because I'm up to 14 minutes and something already. So that's the impact what Bruce has had on me with my collecting and everything else, and being a fan. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.